This summation is on the book Peril. I'm the angry guy. I'm going to tell you like it is. The book Peril was written by Bob Woodward and Robert Costa. There are source notes contained in the book Peril. On September 22nd, 2021, I was staring at the top of the page 68. The words haunted me. It read, Biden turned the conversation toward the pandemic and the economy. He said the country was on the precipice of a calamity or both, unless significant action was taken. My first impression reading the book Peril was it was an easy read, the storyline moved at a fast pace, and in the prologue there were many known details sprinkled with a few attention-grabbing facts to keep the reader interested. But as I continued to read the book, Peril, I realized there was a lot of facts I did not know that happened behind closed doors. Reading the preface and continue reading the following chapters was like turning a crank to start an early century automobile. If you turned the handle with your right hand and the car misfired, more than likely your arm would have been broken. If you turned the crank with the left hand and it started, you were pleasantly surprised and thankful of hearing the uneven idle of the Model T engine. The prologue began 2 days after January 6, 2021. General Mark Milley, the nation's senior military officer and chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who has no power to tell any general in the United States Armed Forces what to do, heard the Chinese was concerned about hearing extensive reports of an attack on the U.S. Capitol. The Chinese leadership was shocked, confused, and was worried in what their future might be with the United States. The best part in the prologue was a conversation between General Mark Milley and Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. The dialogue between those two sounded so authentic because Nancy Pelosi asked two direct, defined questions to General Mark Milley that most people in the United States would have asked if they thought the President of the United States was not in his right mind after losing the election. After absorbing the content of the introduction, my pulse quickened for excitement, but it quickly dwindled when reading the first 4 words in Chapter 1. After reading the words, nearly 4 years earlier, I said, oh shit, this book is mostly about Joe Biden coming up as a candidate for the presidency. Don't get me wrong, I respect both Mr. Biden and Dr. and Mrs. Biden. For me, a year and a half before the 2020 election, national news was a constant in my life because of a family emergency. I knew a lot of facts in the beginning of the book because my wife was absent from the house for 11 months and the constant reporting on the television talking about politics became a habit for me. For example, on Monday, the sitting president at the time would do an absurd act, but by Friday, a person would forget what he did on Monday because on Friday he would throw red meat to the media and the Democrats so they could stew and think about it all weekend in what he said or did. Surprisingly, the routine became the norm. That's scary. After reading the entire book, I realized there was a hell of a lot I didn't know what was going on in the world of politics for 4 years prior to the election and afterwards. The book read exactly like following an old person in a car you can't pass. The old person will drive slow as molasses, then speed up till they reach the speed limit, and then slow down to a crawl again. And that rotation of different speeds never changed until you get a chance to pass them. There were some exciting chapters in the book Peril, and I flew through them. Some chapters were a grind, but all of them contained fascinating facts which kept me reading to the end. For example, I thought the Charlottesville incident was the sole turning point for Joe Biden's decision to run for president. It wasn't. I thought Paul Ryan was a bootlicker until I read this book. After Ryan received a call from a wealthy New York doctor and a Republican donor told Mr. Ryan how to understand what a narcissistic personality disorder was. Mr. Paul Ryan grew some balls and told the sitting president he should have moral leadership obligation to do what is right. And later on, he told the president not to veto the spending bill. After reading that in this book, my opinion immediately changed about Mr. Paul Ryan. Now I think of Mr. Paul Ryan as an intelligent family man that could have made a bid for the presidency. Mr. Ryan now feels guilty about not being there on January 6th, but I think to his satisfaction knowing he made the right choice in leaving the White House. I bet his family's glad too. I didn't realize years before the 2018 intervention, Joe and Dr. Jill Biden was going through a family crisis at the particular time. The book read, in a roundabout way, Beau Biden made Joe Biden promise he would run for president. Another interesting fact, Senator Lisa Blunt Rochester, the first woman and first black person to hold a Delaware seat, played a crucial role in Biden's presidency run. All Mr. Biden had to do was look her in the eyes and say, "Congressman, I would be honored to have your support." I was pleasantly surprised to find out House Majority Whip James Clyburn's offer to Joe Biden was a significant turning point that pushed Joe Biden to win the South Carolina vote, an important and a gigantic victory. In my opinion, General Milley, then the Army Chief as Chairman of Joint of Staff, did a fantastic job until 2 days before January 6, 2021. And one day after January 6th, I feel in my heart General Milley saved millions of Americans several times. But what happened to Phase 2, General Milley? I don't understand. You're supposed to know what's going on January 6th. Listen to the wire. Listen to the internet. Look at the train station. Look at the airplane tickets coming in. During the January 6th insurrection, the Secret Service tried to whisk Vice President Pence away, but Pence said, "I'm not leaving." I thank God every day Vice President Pence had sense enough not to jump in the car with the Secret Service. They could have taken Vice President Pence anywhere, and he could not have read the votes. Also, hats off to former Vice President Dan Quayle for talking to Vice President Pence in November before January 6th. After the prologue, the book was placed into third gear, but at the 26th chapter mark, the book slammed into fourth gear. The information just dripped off the pages. Whoa, there was so much to take in. I had to stop at times to gather my thoughts. Mitch McConnell tasked Senator John Cornyn, a Republican of Texas, speak to Chris Coons, a back channel to now President Biden, to not call Trump because that would infuriate him, just like General Mark Milley did with China and former President Ronald Reagan did in 1987 with the Russians. Scary facts, huh? The recent sitting president was going to name Peril, deputy FBI director, to an ally inside a bureau whose leadership he believed was corrupt. There'd be so many people in there. That would have been, I don't know, man. The once sitting president thought if anyone had a false claim, they could go straight to the Supreme Court without due process. On November 11, 2020, Patel slid a fake one-page memo across the table of General Milley. It was a memorandum for the General Milley to withdraw from Somalia and Afghanistan without going through any proper channels. The once sitting president berated Pence several times before January 6th insurrection. I heard of this rule but didn't know why President Biden didn't use it all the time. It states any party, Democrat or Republican, can invoke the Senate rule called reconciliation. Under Senate rules for legislation involving budgets only, reconciliation means only majority votes was required. It would not be a subject to a filibuster, means 60 votes or more, which means you only need 51 votes to pass the budget on a reconciliation. That's for budget only. Still stuck in third gear, the remaining chapters talked about spending billions of dollars and what party is going to win out on their proposals. Plus, the chapters afterwards talked about a guy trying to show his ass off. Joseph Mancini III, a senator from West Virginia whose motto for the state at one time was "open for business." That sounded like a horse house. The remaining pages of the book was about former sitting President Donald Trump. Brad Pascal, a former campaign manager who was kicked out of the former sitting president's circle because of the Tulsa rally, said, "I don't think he sees it as a comeback. He sees it as vengeance." Don't forget to read the epilogue. It's the cherry on top of the diplomatic cake. Thank you for subscribing. Appreciate you viewing and value your comments. Thank you.